After 10 months at sea, 4 Portuguese ships drop anchor in the waters of Calicut, the greatest spice port of the Malabar coast. Vasco da Gama stands on the deck of the São Gabriel, gazing at a sight no European has ever witnessed, a harbor alive with vessels from across the known world. Before him stretches a city that makes Lisbon seem provincial, Calicut, the pepper capital of the world, where merchants speak a dozen languages, where fortunes are made with each monsoon's arrival. The Portuguese have reached their destination, but they've also entered a world far more complex than their maps suggested. The anonymous chronicler aboard the Gama's fleet struggles to capture what they witness.
The city is very large, and the houses are of stone and lime, very lofty, and the streets very wide.
But his words barely convey the reality. Calicut, in 1498, is the crown jewel of the Malabar coast's trading empire. Every year, when the southwest monsoon brings reliable winds, merchant fleets converge here, from across the Indian Ocean. Arab traders arrive with gold, silver, and horses from the Persian Gulf. Chinese ships carry silk, porcelain, and precious stones. From the Spice Islands come nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon, worth their weight in silver. The city's wealth stuns the Portuguese. Palm-thatched warehouses line the waterfront, each filled with treasures that would bankrupt European kingdoms to acquire. Black pepper, the black gold, sits in mountainous piles. Cardamom, ginger, and turmeric create aromatic clouds that drift through the humid air. But what truly amazes the Gama is the sophistication of it all. Calicut operates on credit systems that span continents, insurance policies that protect merchants across thousands of miles, accounting methods more advanced than anything in Europe. 3 days pass before the Gama receives the summons he's been waiting for, the Samudri, the sea king who rules this commercial empire. He will grant an audience to these strange visitors from the Sunset Lands. The palace complex sprawls across acres of manicured gardens and ornate courtyards. As the Gama and his officers are led through halls decorated with intricate wood carvings and silk tapestries, they realize something. They're about to meet one of the most powerful rulers in the Indian Ocean world. The Samudri receives them in a hall that takes their breath away. Polished teak pillars support a ceiling painted with scenes from Hindu mythology. The ruler himself, perhaps in his 40s, reclines on cushions of Chinese silk, while nobles fan him with peacock feathers. Da Gama presents his credentials. King Manuel's letter seeking trade and alliance, but as the court interpreter reads the Portuguese terms, confusion ripples through the assembled nobles. The Portuguese seek not just trade, but exclusive rights. They want to control the very commerce that has made Calicut wealthy. The Samudri's response, filtered through translators, is diplomatically cautious. He welcomes trade, but Calicut's prosperity depends on free commerce, open to all nations. The city's wealth flows from diversity, not monopoly.
The Portuguese are welcome as traders, as are the Arabs, the Chinese, and all peaceful merchants. But the sea belongs to no single king.
What follows over the next weeks reveals the vast gulf between Portuguese expectations and Indian Ocean realities. Da Gama and his men are products of a small, relatively poor European kingdom. They cannot comprehend the sophisticated commercial culture they've entered. The gifts Da Gama presents are met with polite embarrassment. Cheap clothes, wash basins, and honey. Nobles whisper among themselves. These are the offerings of petty merchants, not the ambassadors of a great king. The Samudri's agents have seen Chinese porcelains, Persian carpets, Venetian glass. Portuguese trinkets seem almost insulting. Da Gama's cultural blindness grows more apparent daily. He cannot understand why the Samudri won't simply grant Portugal exclusive trading rights. In his experience, kings either submit or fight. The concept of a multilateral commercial system governed by custom and mutual benefit is foreign to this crusader's mentality. The Portuguese also failed to grasp Calicut's religious tolerance. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and Jews trade side by side in the markets. The city's prosperity depends on this cooperation, but Da Gama sees only enemies of the faith. Complicating everything is the presence of Arab merchants. They've dominated Indian Ocean trade for centuries. These men, many from families with roots in Yemen and Oman, watched the Portuguese arrival with growing concern. The Arabs immediately recognize what the Samudri's court perhaps does not. They recognize the cross. The Arabs have been fighting Christian kings for centuries. These Portuguese aren't just another group of traders. They carry the resolve of the Christian kingdoms with which they are intimately familiar.
Mark my words. These Franks bring not trade but war. Their cross follows their cannon, as it did in Granada, and as it does in Morocco.
Whispered warnings circulate through Calicut's Arab quarter. Messages are dispatched to Cairo, to Baghdad, to the Ottoman court in Istanbul. The arrival of armed European ships in the Indian Ocean represents a threat to the entire Islamic world's commercial lifeline. The crisis erupts in late August. After months of frustrating negotiations, Da Gama prepares to depart, with only a token cargo of pepper and cinnamon. The Samudri, growing suspicious of Portuguese intentions, has effectively stalled their mission. But Da Gama isn't leaving empty-handed. In a move that will define Portuguese-Indian relations for the next century, he does something shocking. He seizes several Calicut merchants and fishermen as hostages, demanding better terms for their release. The Samudri's response is swift. Calicut's harbor defenses, dozens of armed vessels, move to block the Portuguese departure. For the first time, European cannon faces Indian Ocean naval power. The Portuguese gunners spring into action. The battle lasts only minutes, but its consequences will echo for centuries. Portuguese bronze cannons fire horizontally. at water level. They tear through the traditional vessels of the Indian fleet. The technical superiority that European investment has created proves devastating. Wooden holes splinter, men scream, the water turns red. The Indian vessels, built for trade, not war, cannot withstand the barrage. Within minutes, Calicut's harbor defenses is shattered. The Portuguese ships break free, cutting their anchor cables, racing for the open oceans. Behind them, burning vessels and floating debris. As the Sao Gabriel and her sisters escape toward the open ocean, they leave behind a transformed world. The age of peaceful commerce in the Indian Ocean has ended. The Portuguese have fired the first shots in a war that will reshape three continents. On the deck of the Gabriel, da Gama watches Calicut's coastline disappear behind him. He has his hostages, a small cargo of spices, and the knowledge that the route to India is real. Behind him, in Calicut's palace, the Samudri receives reports of the battle. His advisors gather, the Arab merchants demand action, the mood is grim. His empire has been attacked by strange foreigners with superior weapons. The question now is simple: will they return? The answer, of course, is yes. But first, Da Gama must survive the journey home. Ahead lies the long voyage back to Portugal, around Africa, across the Atlantic, with half empty water barrels, damaged sails, and crews already weakened by months at sea. Scurvy waits in the shadows, storms gather on the horizon. The hardest part of the journey is about to begin.